As we bring you more off-season shenanigans on the C&J Speedway Review, lot to talk about this week. Two burning points that I need to ask Corey about once we get into the body of the show. The announcement of our first ever special guest coming in 2 weeks, and a champion bumps a championship contender out of a ride on the NASCAR Gander Outdoor Gimmick Schnabitz Fernum Truck Series. Because they change the name every year, I have to learn something new every year. He's Corey. I'm Chris. This is the C&J Speedway Review. Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the C&J Speedway Review, live on YouTube on a Wednesday night and audio only in your ears via Anchor FM. Gee, you know what? One of these days, I'm going to learn how to speak. Via Anchor FM, Apple Podcast, or wherever you steal your favorite podcast from. My name is Chris Burns from the Loki and Jabroni Show. I'm not going to get into all that because right now, across the screen from me, as he is anxiously awaiting February, he is Chelsea's Ride or Die. He's Mr. Co-host to you, the man with the beard, and it doesn't look weird, Mr. Corey Huffnagel. Corey, how are you?
Well, all I can just say is to everybody, I am doing pretty good. A lot better than what I was doing on Monday, but we're not going to get into that discussion. Which of course I was, which of course I was. Let's just say I was butchered all week, with almost like everybody like commenting saying like Alabama was going to lose, whatever, and they were going to lose, their season was over, and all that. But I'm just like, guys, I really don't even care. Like, you win some, you lose some, but enough of that. I mean, it was a, I'd say like a bad performance out of us, and yeah, all I could just say is congratulations to Clemson. I mean, they played a great game. I wanted it to be close, but it wasn't really the best that I was expecting. But hey, all I can just say is let's get racing.
As long as we're talking about Alabama, it was one of the 2 points I wanted to ask you about before we get into the meat and potatoes of the broadcast. In case you guys live under a rock or don't follow college football like Corey, myself, and millions of others do, the Clemson Tigers came out big on Monday night, won the national championship against the Alabama Crimson Choke. I mean the Crimson Tide. And I say that as a joke because Corey is an Alabama fan. I'm sure roles reversed. If Ohio State lost the championship game, he'd give me the same in return. And that's what brothers do. We razz each other. During the game, I texted Corey a couple times and I said, hey, so far so good. Good game. This is good. This is good for you. You guys are a second half team. What I did not expect was Clemson. They played with quite a fire in the first half. They played with even more fire, and the coach made the most fantastic statement at halftime. We're coming out of the locker room at halftime treating this game as if it was 0-0. This is where we make a statement. This is where we're going to win this game. And to watch that game, it was disappointing, much like watching the Michigan-Ohio State game, even though I'm an Ohio State fan, even though I loved watching them beat Michigan. But it was a bit discomforting. It's very uncomfortable because when I watched Ohio State Michigan, I'm of course watching it with Loki, big Michigan fan. I'm watching this game Monday, texting you throughout the game, and knowing that one of my friends is basically watching his team go down in flames. It kind of hurts. At the same time, it was a fantastic run for both teams. If you're an Alabama fan, much like Corey is, be proud of your team, be proud of what you accomplished, and get ready for next season because it's going to be even more fantastic. Alabama's not losing too many people to graduation or the NFL draft. Ohio State is losing a lot of kids to the draft and graduation. It's going to be interesting on both sides. And the second point I wanted to bring up, first of all, tipping of the hat. You guys, second place is not the first loser. Second place is the almost winner when you talk about today's society. And the first listener that can come up with where Almost Winter comes from will win a prize from us. Here, I'll give you this prize. The first listener to tell us where Almost Winter comes from wins this Alan Kulwicki 164th Army car
Mm,
from 1991, the U.S.
yeah.
Army Ford Thunderbird. That will be your prize. First correct answer. Do it in the comments below. The second thing I want to bring up, we just got out of Christmas and New Year's, and every now and again I like to look through my friends' pictures and see all the cool stuff they got for Christmas. I'm not one to take a bunch of pictures, but I love to see what other people got. Corey, I got a bone to pick with you.
All right.
I got a question. I don't know if it was you that bought it. I don't know if it was that bought it. I don't care if it was Brian France himself coming off of his DUI who bought it. But why does Chelsea Tzatziki Sauce, your ride or die, have an MRN T-shirt before I do?
Well, given the fact that she is a big fan of this show, and not to mention the fact that we always say MRN, the voice of NASCAR. I figured it was probably. I think it was something out of thought that came out of a couple months ago, but yeah, I guess she wanted a shirt, and I know how much you wanted a shirt too. So
I had a birthday and Christmas roll by. Nobody got me an MRN shirt, but beside the point, I'm glad she has it. I'm glad she watches. Yeah, hi Chelsea, he loves you.
yes,
And it's a cool thing. But you know what else is cool? 2 weeks from tonight, when we come back and see you folks again, our first ever special guest. Young man I got to meet the other day. His name is Joey Ternulo. He is a local racer in Connecticut. He's done some racing in Massachusetts. He's run against Ryan Preece. He's run against Kaz Gralla. He's the 2013 Waterford Speed Bowl Legend Car champ. He's the 2014 Connecticut State Legend Car champ. He has more than 20 wins under his belt. The coolest thing about that is, if you do the math, kid's only 19 years old.
impressive.
Yes, and he's coming here in 2 weeks. I pointed him in the direction of the show. Check us out. Maybe, have a little fun with it. He doesn't even need to do that. He says, I'll do it. Bang, sight unseen. So the guest I spoke about 2 weeks ago, still in the works. Not going to tell you who it is. You guys probably figured it out by now, but,
Yeah.
Whatever. Joey Ternulo is going to be here with us in 2 weeks to talk about his career racing in the Northeast. Maybe throw some, I don't know, knowledge on the 2018 season that was in the top three divisions in NASCAR, and maybe his predictions for 2019. But now that we've gone through all of that, Corey, the biggest news of the week. You texted me earlier today. It sat me. If I I don't often cuss. It put me on my ass. Seriously, tell the folks the big news coming out of the Truck Series today.
So, before I get to this big story that happened today, and Chris, I'm gonna have to teach you this new vocabulary word from now until November. It is called the NASCAR Gander Outdoor Truck Series. Gander
Say
Outdoors.
Gander Outdoor Truck Series. Yes, I will learn that. I will take a lot of time in the off season before we get to Speed Weeks, and I will be able to say the Gander Gimmick Schnabitz Tampon 500.
See, they put an S on the R on there. So what I usually do instead of like Gander Outdoors Truck Series, I pretty much say like Outdoor Truck Series, like just like put like the S is like silent and stuff.
Okay. Oh, it's like that.
Yeah. But anywho, so the biggest story that happened today, and honestly, I was really surprised myself. GMS Racing and Johnny Sauter have parted ways. Yes, folks.
Wow.
The driver that just won the 2016 Camping World Truck Series Championship, apparently, he parted ways. 40 years old. He spent about 10 seasons in the Truck Series, dating all the way back from 2009. He has 23 career wins. 13 in the last 3 years with GMS Racing. And the only thing that I'm kind of questioning on about this was what really happened like behind closed doors, especially with GMS. Like, I don't know if it was either, well, GMS decided to let him go because, there was a young driver coming up through the ranks, or it was either, GMS decides to fire him after whatever happened and so forth, or it was just pretty much Johnny Sauter saying like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm 40 years old. I got a wife. I got a couple kids and everything and so forth. So aside from this, so rumor has it that apparently Brett Moffitt is going to be replacing Johnny Sauter at GMS. So this one hasn't been official yet, but I know this is going to happen. But this is one of my kind of questions here. So you have a guy that won 6 races last season. He's won a championship for GMS, and for him to let go and to get a guy that just won the Truck Series championship last year, I mean, I have to admit, I am happy that Brett Moffitt's getting a ride this year, which we all kind of questioned, like, what was he going to do now that Notori Racing, decided to let him go and pretty much, Austin Hill gets picked up for the race team. But now with Johnny Sauter, this is going to be kind of my question. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, so he's probably not going to run with a team that's going to run mid-pack every week, or he's just going to go to like either Xfinity or Cup. But this is all up to him, and this is what he's going to have to decide if he's going to run another season or if he's just going to take time off and spend time with family. But when I first heard this today, like I was really surprised, and I don't really know like who came up with the decision like to let him go and decide, oh, why don't we have a young driver come in and run for our race team? But you have to remember this, even though Brett Moffitt's probably not going to bring a lot of money to that race team because, let's face it, last year, he drove the whole entire season without a full-time sponsorship. But I will say this, though, GMS is a really good race team, and this is going to be pretty much, Brett Moffitt's breakout year. So I would say instead of 6 wins that he had last year, expect him to win more than 6 in 2019.
I have 2 questions, and maybe they're something you've thought about, maybe they're not. Is this a situation, like you said, where maybe there's something going on behind the scenes of GMS that we don't know about, a la Ryan Newman at Penske Racing, where he and Rusty Wallace just did not get along, and it was in Ryan's best interest to move along and do that? That's certainly a question. And the second question is, like you said, is this a move where Johnny looks at himself and says, well, I'm 40. My biggest success has been on the Truck Series. Not getting any younger. Is it time to run a limited schedule and pare myself back? I'm going to go with the former rather than the latter. I think that maybe there was something behind the scenes at GMS Racing and Johnny Sauter that maybe didn't click. You have to remember, this is a guy that's been in the running for this championship. He was a 2016 champion.
Yeah.
The last 3 years, last 2 years, 17 and 18, he's been in the hunt for the championship. He's won, since that championship, a handful of races. He had a fantastic season this year. What's the problem? You don't just give up on a guy who brought you 6 victories this year. There has to be something more going on. I would love to believe that he made this decision based on family, his age, etc. I don't buy it. I don't buy it in the least. I think there's something going on behind the scenes at GMS that we may never know about. Having said that, is it confirmed that Brett Moffitt is going to take that seat?
Well, apparently it looks like it, and I would have to say that even if Moffitt takes over that 21 ride, expect him to be the one to watch this year.
How do you not watch the champion? On top of that, how do you not watch the champion get into a ride that ran for the championship and was in that Final Four? This is, if Brett Moffitt gets that seat. And by the way, we've been saying it for since November. Give Brett a ride.
Right.
Hashtag Moffitt needs a ride. This would be a great thing for Brett Moffitt because all the uncertainty would be thrown out the window. We are now January 9. Speed Weeks is but 4 weeks away. Daytona is but 6 weeks. Excuse me. Wow. Hello. Lunch is coming back to haunt me. Speed Weeks is 4 to 5 weeks away. Daytona is but 6 weeks away.
Yeah.
The uncertainty has to be lifted. And if this means that Brett Moffitt gets into a championship caliber ride after taking unsponsored multiple platforms to get to a championship this year, he will repeat in 2019. My opinion.
I definitely agree too.
Okay. So, other silly season news has Daniel Suarez being the driver named for the number 41 Stewart-Haas Racing Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series car. I know we talked about that was the favorite going in to be the one to sit in the number 41. I know I had other picks throughout the off season. I would love to see Matt DiBenedetto. I talked about other guys going into the 41, but Daniel Suarez seems to be a good fit. Now there are some people, and I have to tell you this, who have said to me privately, this is the worst decision Stuart Haas Racing has ever made since putting Danica in the 10. Your thoughts, and then I'll cover my thought on the issue.
See, I kind of look at Daniel Suarez and I think to myself, all right, so he's won the Xfinity Series championship.
Mm-hmm.
And given the fact that when he was in the Cup Series the last 2 years for Joe Gibbs Racing, as I'm about to take up his results.
Thank you. I was going
So,
to ask you for those.
so, uh, so looking at the last 2 years in the Cup Series, he's had four top fives, 21 top tens. So, I mean, he's not really too bad of a driver. I mean, he's kind of like in the middle the way I look at it. But one little thing about Daniel Suarez, I mean, of course, he won an Xfinity championship, and he's only won like 3 races in Xfinity. But this was a guy, and I don't know if you remember back in 2017, but this was a guy that was brought up too early because if you remember at the time when Carl Edwards announced that, I'm not going to be running anymore, I'm going to be doing other things, etc. That was when Joe Gibbs Racing said, okay, we don't know who else to pick, but we're going to have to move him up from Xfinity to the Cup Series. Just have him get his feet wet real early just to see what he does. Well, that first year, he ended up finishing 12 top 10s. So it's not really too bad the way you look at it. But I just kind of look at it. I mean, yeah, he was consistent throughout the last 2 years. But one little thing that I kind of pointed off was, he was just one of those guys that ran in the middle. You didn't really see him up front too much. I mean, beside the fact he had a good run at Pocono back in July. But now that he's in another ride with Stuart Haas Racing, yes, I'm not really surprised that that Stuart Haas picked him. But of course, in my opinion, yes, I do expect a lot more out of him this year than what he's done the last 2 years at Joe Gibbs. But
Mm-hmm.
here's a little theory that I kind of came up with. So if you remember when Eric Almirola came to Stuart Haas last year after driving for Richard Petty Motorsports, Almirola had a breakout year. He scored a bunch of top tens, top fives, and even had that one win at Talladega back in October. So I'm kind of thinking to myself, all right, so if Daniel Suarez could do the same thing that Almirola did, he could probably score off maybe one win or two and, could possibly be in the playoffs in 2019. But what do you think? What does this kid have to do in 2019? Well, we'll just have to see. I mean, I know it's a Ford team the way you look at it, but I do expect a lot of big things out of him. And I would have to give him maybe 5 races to see how he does in that 41 car. And if he could score top tens right off the bat, I'd be surprised.
I'm going to ask you while I say my piece here. I want you to look up something for me,
All right.
and when I come out of what I have to say, I want the stats on Daniel Suarez in the Cup Series, wins, top fives, top tens. Obviously, no wins are 0. Wins, top fives, top tens. Then I want you to give me the same line on Danica Patrick. That's your job while I do my little dissertation here. Now,
Okay.
one of the people that came to me and said putting Daniel Suarez in the 41 is akin to putting Danica Patrick in the 10. Was also one of those people that said don't put Clint Boyer in the 14. And look where that went. Clint Boyer gets in the 14. He wins a handful of races. He makes the championship 16. I believe he made the round of 8, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Thank you, because you're the stat guy. I was curious. Clint Boyer thrived in the Stuart Haas car, number 14. I think Daniel Suarez, no offense to the Joe Gibbs Racing team or the number 19 car, but when you look at Joe Gibbs Racing, look at the people around him that he's racing with and or against, even though they're teammates. You have Kyle Busch. You have Denny Hamlin.
Yep.
Who's the other Gibbs guy? Is
Eric
escaping
Jones.
me. Eric Jones. I think Jones picked off a victory this year, didn't he?
He did.
Exactly. So when you look at that crop, somebody has to fall out. Unfortunately, it was Suarez, but then you go to the Stewart Haas side, all 4 drivers picked up a victory in 2018. Am I saying that the equipment means more than the talent? No. Am I saying that the talent means more than the equipment? No. The old adage is you can put a really good driver in really crappy equipment and he'll find a way to win. You put a really crappy driver in stellar equipment and he's still not going to find victory lane. I could run off a million names, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not here to disparage people. The fact that Suarez was picked by Stewart Haas Racing to sit in the 41 means A, they think the world of Suarez. They looked at his stat sheet and said, okay, this is a guy that we can use his talent with our equipment and propel him to the next level. Again, my pick going forward, or back, I shouldn't say going forward, back when, was Matt DiBenedetto. I would have loved to have seen Guido in that 41. Didn't happen. No big deal. I think I had 2 other picks that could go into the 41. Suarez was not even in the conversation. But Corey, if you remember, when that news broke, I think it was Monday morning.
Yeah.
I texted you immediately. Suarez is in the 41. This is going to be cool. And I still think that. And there's going to be the haters. And to the haters, I want to say this. And Corey, I hope you got all those stats ready for me because I'm coming toward the end of my rant.
All right.
I want you haters to remember. Some of you thought Almirola was a bad fit at Stewart Haas Racing. Picked up a victory, made the championship 16, had a pretty decent showing. Y'all thought Clint Boyer was a bad fit at Stewart Haas Racing. Picked up some victories, made the championship 16, had a pretty good showing. Years ago, you thought Kurt Busch was a bad fit in the 41. Picked up some victories, made the championship 16 twice. You know what? I'm thinking Stewart Haas knows a little bit more than the guy sitting on his couch. In fact, other than Tony Stewart, who is co-owner of the team and ran that 14 for years, their pick of Kevin Harvick, which a lot of people thought Harvick can't do well in a Ford, how'd that work out in 2014, kids? Let me ask you that. Stewart Haas, between Gene Haas and Tony Stewart, knows how to pick talent. Danica Patrick, for what it's worth, in my opinion, was a publicity stunt. Let's be the team that gives Danica a ride. Now, I'm going to go to Corey. Let's break down Daniel Suarez's Monster Energy Cup Series top 5s and top 10s. Hit me.
All right, so 2017, he had one top
27. I'm talking overall. His entire
overall
Cup Series. Yep.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Overall, he had 4 top 5s and 21 top 10s, an average finish of 17.4 overall.
Okay, and now Danica Patrick.
She had 7 top 10s, an average finish overall 24.1.
No top 5s?
Nope.
Wow. So for all you people that think that this was the worst move since Danica Patrick, I'm looking at 4 more top 5s. I'm looking at 14 more top 10s. I'm looking at an average of 6.7 average finish better than Danica Patrick. You know what? If that's what you want to think, feel free. Congratulations. You must be a genius. Oh, wait, you're not. You're not owning this team. So to the 6 or 7 people that were texting me throughout the week, since in the 3 or 4 days since it's been announced, you don't know anything. You're speaking from a place of not knowledge. You're speaking from a place of opinion. And in my opinion, and the numbers don't lie, kids, Daniel Suarez is going to thrive at Stewart Haas Racing. I'm Chris Burns, and I approve this message. Speaking of which, do we have any news stories that we want to cover? We covered Sauter. We covered Suarez. It's got to be something. Off-season kills me. I know. I see your little gimmick here. It says, is it February yet? Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
So in other news, Hattori Racing Enterprises picked up their driver and some funding for 2019 as it was announced on Tuesday that Austin Hill is going to be driving the 16 truck full-time would sponsor United Rentals in the 16 Toyota Tundra. So the way I kind of look at this is going to be kind of weird, like seeing the 16 truck racing all season, but then yet again, it's not going to be Brett Moffitt, but it's going to be Austin Hill and so forth. But I'm actually going to go through his records and stats. Just give me 1 second here.
Sure, take your time.
Okay.
He was afraid to come out of the water.
So, Austin Hill's record in the Camping World Truck Series overall. So he had 1 top 5, 8 top 10s. Average finish overall was a 17.6. So last season he only scored 1 top 5 and 6 top 10s. So given a kid that used to race in the K&M Pro E Series who had 5 career wins, I kind of look at this kid and I'm thinking to myself, all right, so since Satori Racing ran really well last year, they won 6 races at a championship without having full-time sponsorship. I really think Satori Racing is going to do a lot better than what they did last year. And I could probably see them run up at the front more than what they did a year ago. And I think with Austin Hill, I think he's going to improve a lot, especially in the truck series this year.
You know, Hill was always in the conversation when we go over. If you guys are new to the show, we break down the finishes of the races every single week on all 3 series: the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series. Austin Hill is always in the conversation more often than not. Question for you: who was in the Hattori ride this past year?
So this past year, meaning last year?
Yes.
Brett Moffitt.
Okay, so you're see, now we're going to go into this now. How does Hattori Racing let the champion go? You know what? I'm going to stop. Anyway, you put Austin Hill in there, who was in the conversation for much of the season, better than worse. Let's put it that way. That's going to be a good move, not only for Hattori, but for Austin Hill. The better option would have been keep the champ. But as you've surmised, you truly believe, and a lot of the rumor and innuendo is out there, that Moffitt is going to take Sauter's seat. We're going to see a lot of change. And in this situation, Hill may be the guy to say, you know what, I may have been with these other teams. They may have been underfunded. They've got some funding now with Hattori. Going forward, Austin Hill is going to sit in that seat. This is going to be a good move, my opinion.
I definitely agree. And I think Austin Hill's going to be fun to watch this year, too.
He always is, let's be honest. Even when he's not running well, he's trying. He's doing his best. Heart, fire, determination, things I talk about all the time. This kid's got it. And this may be the stepping stone to bigger and better things for Austin Hill.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got anything else we want to cover going forward? We have a lot of time.
So we have more Truck Series news, as it was announced from Young's Motorsports today. Apparently, Gus Dean is going to be driving full-time in the Gander Outdoor Truck Series this season, driving the number 12. LG, HVAC, and Baker Distributing Chevrolet. So when I look at the truck that Gus is going to drive this year, it kind of almost looks like the truck that Jason Leffler used to drive when he was at Turner Scott Motorsports back in like 2010 or 11 or so forth. But Gus Dean, this is also going to be a kid that's going to be fun to watch. And not only that, 23-year-old Spencer Boyd is also going to be driving for Young's Motorsports this year as well. So it looks like Dean is going to be running for Rookie of the Year honors. And a little bit of history. So Dean has competed in the ARCA Racing Series for the last 3 years. He ran a full-time schedule the last 2 years. 2016, ran 7 races, scored his first win at Talladega. And last year, actually 2017, he finished 4th in the points and 6th in the points last season. So I got to tell you, with all these young guys that are coming up through the ranks, it's going to be really fun to watch.
Absolutely. And if you'll excuse me, I got a little something I have to take care of, but continue on Gus and his winning ways. I apologize to all of you at home. Something I have to take care of real quick. Please excuse me. Corey, take him through.
No problem. All right, so I'm looking at Gus Dean's results as I can pop up through the computer. So let's see. Gus Dean, let's see. He has 2 career wins, 13 top 5s, 27 top 10s overall. Average finish overall the last 3 seasons is at 11.7. So I look at the Truck Series this year, and I think this is going to be a fun season. You got a lot of these young guys that are going to be coming up to the ranks. You got guys like Johnny Sauter. You have Harrison Burton, who's going to be driving the 18 truck this year. You also have Stuart Friesen, who was also a what should I say? Like, had a breakout season last year. Didn't score a win, but yet again, he's going to be fun to watch this season. And not to mention Todd Gilliland, who's also going to be running full time in the Truck Series as well, if I'm not mistaken. But no, I think this is going to be a fun season for the trucks. I really think Brett Moffitt's going to be a one to watch for this season. I really think Harrison Burton. I think he can do a lot of good things in that 18. So it's going to be fun to watch, and I really can't wait to see what happens.
Let the joyous news be spread. The spider in the bathroom is officially dead. Men, if you are married, if you have a girlfriend, if you have children like I do, on all of those fronts, I don't have a wife. I do have my immortal, eternal flame and the goddess of love upstairs. I have the stepdaughter upstairs. My daughter is here a lot of the time. She watches us on YouTube. Hi, Emma. When there's a spider in the bathroom,
oh boy,
you are Rambo. That's it. Having said that, I think it's a good move. I don't have much else to add. I mean, this kid was, I don't want to say top level, but he certainly made his name, and it's going to be a good fit for him.
I really think it is too.
All right, then. By the way, fantastic pint glasses, courtesy of my friend Michael Loki Smith, the Miller Lite gimmick here. If I turn my camera just a little bit, you can see some Rusty Wallace gimmick up there. I'm a huge Rusty Wallace guy. Anyway, Corey, news.
Okay, so let's see. So apparently, NASCAR tested the new aero package at California, I believe, this past week.
I don't know that California is the place I want to test an aero package, only because it's another one of those cookie cutter 1.5 to 2 mile tracks that, unlike Michigan carries a lot of speed, whereas California, it really, you're not seeing 200, 210. You're seeing $170, $180. If you're going to test a new aero package anywhere, do it at Michigan, do it at Daytona, do it at Talladega, do it at the tracks that carry 200-mile-an-hour speeds going into turn 3 and coming out into the front stretch. California is a nice track, but I've never been a huge fan. I can't say that I don't watch California when these different series run there. It's not like Pocono where I just take the weekend off and let Corey do all of it because I hate Pocono. But California is a great track. I've seen a lot of drivers have a lot of great success there. Rusty Wallace, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, etc. But it's not a track that when I think of aero package and I think of speed and I think of downforce, I don't think California. I think of the 3 tracks I mentioned: Michigan, Daytona, Talladega. Corey, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree.
You're not the best co-host in the business for nothing. I'm just going to throw that out there. Next to Loki, you're tops, man. Anyway, with all the silly season news and speed weeks coming up, I know how much you're dying for the season to start. Maybe, and I know you said it in your post earlier, maybe we could have just a little bit of prognostication. I know that's a big word for a lot of you guys. It's called picks, man. I'm going to throw 3 things out there to you, and I want to write this down. And I'm going to do this now. I'm going to pick 3 things, and we're going to see if we can't pick before Speed Weeks even starts. Okay. 3 particular things. Now, Daytona is just 6 weeks away.
Yep.
In your opinion, Corey Huffnagel, right off the cuff, blind, We haven't seen qualifying. We haven't seen the twin races. We haven't seen practice one. Pick a Daytona 500 champion right now.
If I had to pick one right now, I'd have to say Martin Truex Jr.
Okay, he of the number 19 car. I was looking at it from a little different perspective, and I thought, I always say, if you have something to prove, Daytona is a good place to do it. But then again, Daytona, like Talladega, is one of the biggest crapshoots on the circuit.
Yep.
But the first name that came to my mind was the number 11 of Denny Hamlin. I think Hamlin, we could see him in victory lane come February. I don't even know what the date is, but we all know it's coming.
Yep.
All right. Now, if you had to pick your championship 4 going into Homestead, sight unseen, who are your championship 4 for this season?
Okay, so my championship 4 for 2019, if I had to pick the 4 right now, it's going to be Kevin Harvick would be one. Let's see. My second one would probably be Joey Logano. That'd be another one. Martin Truex Jr. would also be a 1-2. And my fourth one would definitely have to go to, I would have to say, Eric Almirola.
Wow.
Yeah. Because remember, he came close to the championship 4 last year.
Okay, I had 3 of the same 4 that you had. I basically took this year's championship 4 and shifted them forward because, again, class of the field, Harvick, Truex, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano. I think Logano is going to come into 2019 with the stigma of, you wrecked, you didn't wreck Truex. He turned Truex a little bit to get his win, to get to the championship 4, ran a basically flawless race. You and I were there live streaming.
Yep.
He ran a flawless race at Miami to win the championship. And a lot of people still, there's a lot of sports writers that say Logano lucked into his championship. Well, now he's got a lot to prove. I think the wins are going to come early.
Yep.
I think that, I always use Memorial Day, Charlotte, as my benchmark. He's going to have at least 2 wins before Memorial Day, which automatically punches his ticket to the championship 16. The other 3, Harvick, Truex, Busch, come on. These are 3 guys that for the last few years have been the class of the field. And I don't see it being any different. Unfortunately, as much as I hate picking Kyle Busch for anything, I think we're looking at another year of Kyle Busch going out there. Do I think he's going to win 8 like he did last year? No. Do I think Harvick's going to win 8 like he did last year? No. But I think these 2 guys will have 4 or 5 races between them, wins, that propel them to that championship 4.
But then the other question is how do you think the Ford Mustang's going to do this year?
The testing that I've heard about so far, and again, I'm always on Stuart Haas website and looking at some of the telemetry that they have. I think the Mustangs are going to be fantastic. The Ford cars have been great in the last few years. I think they wouldn't have switched to the Mustang style if they didn't think that this was going to be yet another big championship style car. So, as we move forward, I think Speed Weeks is going to be a great test. I think Daytona, obviously, the first few races of the year, which encompasses Las Vegas, Atlanta, Martinsville, etc. Big proving grounds for the Ford Mustang.
But then, not to mention, of course, remember when Chevrolet debuted the ZL1 last year and only scored like 4 wins. So I kind of look at this and I say, like, all right, so let's say a Ford goes right off the bat, ends up doing, fairly decent, but then, they're kind of like in the middle. And then Chevrolet and Toyota, they're also in the middle as well. I don't know. I mean, let's face it. I think with this new aero package that's coming this year, it's going to bring the field close together. So pretty much, it's no more, driver leading by about 8 seconds, and everyone else is racing for
I missed the
second.
last.
So
I miss. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I missed the last part of your statement.
Okay. So I think with this new aero package that's coming in this year, which of course, if you bring like if Ford and Toyota and Chevrolet, they all run like fairly decent than what Chevrolet did last year. I think with this new aero package that's coming in 2019, it's going to bring the field close together. So pretty much no more, driver leading by 8 seconds and everyone's all racing for seconds. So I think this is going to be a very interesting season. And if NASCAR hits a home run with this new package, let's face it, I think this is going to be the full time deal in 2020 and beyond.
All right, I came up with a fourth question based on your Chevrolet dissertation. And again, when you look at Chevrolet in 2018, not the greatest showing for a manufacturer that is, my lord, just off the top of my head, 7 championships with Johnson, 4 championships with Gordon, a championship with Terry Labonte. And I know I'm going deep. Now you want to go to Dale Jarrett won 2 with Ford. Sorry. Just look at Chevy is and was Dale Earnhardt. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This is a championship racing pedigree, legacy, if you will. And to have the 2018 that they had has to be disappointing. So you're right. Let's watch that first 10 races of the year, see how Chevy does. I mean, Chevy came away with the win at Daytona and did little else for many weeks.
Yeah.
Which brought me to my fourth question, which we're not going to get into right now. That'll be after this question. Preemptive strike. If you had to pick a champion, again, we have it run lap 1. Who do you think will walk away with the hardware on the Cup Series in 2019?
I'm gonna have to go on a. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to bat 500 on this one. So you might be surprised at this, but I'm gonna have to say Chase Elliott.
He's not even in your championship 4, but you're picking him to win the championship. How
Yeah.
does that work in the normal world?
Well, let's just say that. well, let's just say that if Almirola doesn't, is in the final 8 and then doesn't able to make it in, and Chase Elliott does.
Okay.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, this kid won 3 races last year. I mean, he had a breakout year. So last year when I was watching the playoffs, when he won, the 2 races that in the playoffs and so forth, I thought, all right, something tells me I really want to see him go to the championship 4, but I think this is probably something that we're going to have to see next year on how he does. But I would have to look at it and just say, like, I really think Chase Elliott's going to do really a lot better than what he did last year. I mean, yeah, 3 races, pretty much proved that, okay, like, I've been here in the Cup Series the last 2 years, and now I figured this whole thing out.
Okay. It's funny you should say that.
Yep.
My pick for champion next year is Martin Truex Jr. You take a guy who won a championship in 2017 in a grossly underfunded car. Again, you put a championship caliber driver in bad equipment or less than equipment, he's going to find a way to the front. You put,
Absolutely.
yeah, and like I said earlier, you put a crappy driver in great equipment, Danica Patrick, they're not going to find their way to victory circle unless they're cheering for their teammates. I think Truex moving to that 19 car is just what he needed. I see 2 or 3 championships going forward for Truex in the 19. But the question I came up with when you were talking about Chevy, their bad year in 2018, and how everything goes forward, the first name that came to my head was Chase Elliott, who had probably the best season of any Chevrolet driver on the circuit. So I have to ask this question, and yes, I can change the rules as I go along. Chase Elliott, 2019, championship contender or just another pretender?
Championship contender.
Okay, I had the same thing, but there's going to be a lot to watch. Again, with Chase Elliott now being the flagship of Hendrick Motorsports, And that's sad to say because, again, we mentioned Jimmy Johnson a little earlier in the show. He is Mr. Hendrick Motorsport. Yes, Jeff Gordon, 4 championships, 70+ wins, but you have Jimmy Johnson, 7 championships, 80+ wins. And to have him go this season winless to start, not
Yeah.
even making the playoffs to boot, um, for Chase Elliott to be the guy at Hendrick Motorsports, it's a changing of the guard. However, is Chase Elliott for real? And you're saying he is. I think he is as well, but I'm putting a little asterisk next to it because he's going to have to show in the first 10 to 13 races, he has to pick up a win. He has to show that, yes, this is now my house. You are now in Chase Elliott land.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you that those 3 wins this past season, that championship run, even though it was curtailed about halfway through, I'm going to show you I'm for real. I'm hoping he does it. He comes from championship pedigree. He comes from, you know, obviously Bill Elliott could win on any kind of track anywhere at any time. He's the exception to the rule when you look at sons of famous drivers. Stephen Wallace, a bucket of suck. Kyle Petty, yeah, he got a couple wins, but let's be honest, great analyst, a bucket of suck. A lot of the sons of championship drivers don't come up and make the grade. Chase Elliott has found a way to make the grade. And I'm hoping on everything I know about racing that he is the exception to the rule, where the sons fall short of their championship fathers. Obviously, look, Kyle Petty, I'm going to give him a pass. No one, no one is going to eclipse the king.
No.
I can point to Junior. Junior probably has more fans, is more beloved than Dale Earnhardt Sr. He has 7 championships. He has 79+ wins. I don't know. I don't have stats in front of me. That's Corey's job. But we all know the legacy of Dale Earnhardt Sr. I think that Dale Jr. is more beloved than Sr. Has far less wins, has far less championships on the Cup Series, obviously 7-0, but Jr. had heart and he never gave up. Whereas you look at some of these other sons of, and they just kind of falter and they give up. I think Chase Elliott has the fire to be the beacon for Hendrick Motorsports going forward.
I agree.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to cover before you tell Chelsea how much you love her?
I think I'm good besides the fact that I love her.
Oh my God. You're killing me. In 2 weeks, guys, once again, I can't stress this enough. New England Racing is, Corey's in Peabody, Massachusetts. I'm here in Norwich, Connecticut, Valhalla Underground Studios. Local racing is where it all starts. And in 2 weeks, we're going to have Joey Ternullo, 2013 Waterford Speedboat Legend Car Champion, 2014 Connecticut State Legend Car Champion, 20 wins to his credit. He, of just not even 20 years old, he's out there kicking it. And we're going to be able to pick his brain in 2 weeks live right here on YouTube, or for you audio only fans, you're going to get it on Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you steal us from. I am looking forward to it. This is a young man I got to meet just a couple days ago, and he is really, really an amazing young man. And the fact that he's younger than Corey makes me even more happy because Corey can say, this kid is amazing, and
Yeah.
it'll mean something. Corey, real quick, before we go into the pimps, the plugs, and the pushes, during this offseason, we've seen a lot of moves. We've seen drivers go from A team to B team, from this series to that series. I wanted to ask you this a couple weeks ago. I failed. I'm sorry. The biggest move of all of the silly season, if you had to pick one, what is the most meaningful? What's going to be the most successful move of the silly season?
I think the most successful move, if you look at it, I'm gonna have to go with Chip Ganassi Racing and Kurt Busch.
Wow. I'm shocked. I thought you would go a different way, but I can see that working out for that number one team at Chip Ganassi. Kurt Busch certainly brings a legacy with him, a championship, multiple wins, multiple top fives, multiple top tens. But for me, I have to go with Truex going to the 19 at Joe Gibbs Racing. I just see that you have this champion, a champion, going from underfunded single car team recently, double car team over the last couple years, now going to this four car
Yeah,
monster with some of the best equipment that NASCAR has. I think that the move of Truex to the 19 is going to bear a whole lot of fruit going forward.
definitely.
Worst move, whether, of the silly season.
I would have to say the worst move. Mm, yeah, I'm just gonna have to say the worst move would have to be today. GMS Racing letting go Johnny Sauter and putting in Brett Moffitt. I mean, again, like we don't know the reason why GMS made this decision. We don't know, you know, what was said behind closed doors. We don't know like if this was either a GMS move or this was either a Johnny Sauter move. We don't know. But I would have to say that's probably the worst move. I mean, it's good for Brett Moffitt, but then yet again, it's bad for Johnny Sauter, whether if he wants to stay in the sport or pretty much take time off because again, like he's 40. I mean, he's got a family, and it's just pretty much that age now where you're starting to ponder and say, like, all right, how much longer of a career do I have in racing?
I'm going to go a different direction. As much as I think Sauter out, Moffitt in, if Moffitt does indeed move into that ride, I think that's a great move for Brett Moffitt, bad move for Johnny Sauter. But again, we don't know all the specifics, and we may never know all the specifics. I think the worst move, and I say this with all due respect because A, he was born on my birthday, B, he's only a couple years younger than I am, but C, he really doesn't have the fire, the passion, the heart, the determination that he once had years past. Ryan Newman going to the Roush number 6 is a really bad move.
Yeah,
Bad move for Roush Racing. You can't, again, we're outside looking in. This is from a fan perspective. Everything we do comes from a couch, a chair, a computer, etc. We're fans talking to fans. But I think Ryan Newman, no offense, you've had a great career. You may not have captured that championship, but it's time, kid. And I say kid because he's a couple years younger than me. I call everybody kid, but it's time, Ryan. It really is time. Hang it up. You have a Hall of Fame career easily. Let it go. I think you're going to see Ryan Newman in that 6, and Roush has struggled for many years. I
yeah,
don't know why. They were once one of the top teams in the NASCAR Cup Series, but they've struggled mightily over the years. Not the best move ever. If you're going to put someone in the 6, find a young guy. Trevor Bayne was not the answer. Bringing Matt Kenseth back was fantastic. It was a wonderful trip down memory lane for me, especially to see Matt Kenseth out there wheeling that 6 car when I'm used to seeing him in the 17 or the 20 of Joe Gibbs, the 17 when he was with Roush. I don't think Ryan Newman's a great fit. I think this is going to be a bad move, and it's going to prove that whoever's in charge, we know Jack Roush is the money behind the madness, but whoever's making the decisions to bring drivers in made a huge mistake putting Ryan Newman in the 6.
yeah.
So, you, K1 Racer Jones, tell me, do you have anything to pimp, plug, or otherwise push upon the people, including your racing going forward?
So, keep following us on the C&J Speedway Review. We are on Facebook, so just make sure you just follow or whatever you do. YouTube, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell. You'll get notifications of when we go live. And upload our episodes, everything you need to know. Of course, Twitter, we are at CJ_Speedway, and then Instagram, we are at CJ Speedway. And of course, for me, I'm doing a lot of racing for my Rowdy Burns K1 Racing Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat. So I'll probably be busy on those as I'm doing a lot of racing around the country. Well, not around the country, like around like the New England area or anywhere like I go. So just follow me on those social media sites. I'm on almost everywhere. And my next race that I'm going to be going to is going to be down at Kingston on January 27th. So I have one friend whose nickname is Slip and Slide. And I just have to say this. So it's kind of a funny nickname if you think about it. But yeah, he's been giving me trash talk the last couple weeks saying, like, that I'm not going to win or basically like, the gloves are off and I just look at him and I just say, like, you think I'm afraid of racing you? Because when I was racing him last month, he wasn't even anywhere like ahead of me, but that's just how it goes. And, so yeah, that just goes to show you that I'm a tough racer.
Corey, I'm going to ask you this question in regard to Slip and Slide Jones. Is he polishing the trophy before it's his?
I want to say yes.
Well, once again, we're gonna. I've warned Corey for weeks. I warned everybody for the last 2004. I mentioned it last night on the Local Jabroni Show. 14 years when I was there polishing the trophy, the World Series trophy, and then the Red Sox staged the greatest comeback in MLB history. And I basically had to throw my rag this way. I had to give the trophy over to the Red Sox over here. As a Yankee fan, I'm humble. Man, I will tell you when I screw up. However, don't polish the trophy until it's actually yours, Slip and Slide Job.
Yeah.
And that's your new name, Slip and Slide Job. I am not even playing. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever your name is, don't polish the trophy until it's yours.
You want to know? You want to know what the real name is?
Do I even want to know?
Wait,
so, is it Car Wash Jones?
No.
Okay, good.
So I want to give a little shout out to Mr. Jeff Leonard, who lives down in Plymouth. So yes, Jeff Leonard is the nickname of Slip and Slide, or now Slip and Slide Job. So Jeff, if you're watching this right now, hello. If you're not watching this, just to let you know, I'm still going to kick your butt on the 27th.
Jeff, you can have the best equipment going. You could have the best car going. You could have everything in front of you. Something generally does happen that could cost you. Do not, Corey, just for clarity's sake, in the 2 weeks leading up to this past Monday's national championship game, what did I tell you 3,000 times about the national championship?
Do not polish the trophy until it's yours.
Exactly. So Slip and Slide Job, Jeff Leonard, do not polish that trophy until it is yours. Because I will tell you this, in the year and a half, almost 2 years I've been doing this show with Corey, he goes out there, he does these K1 races. He's either first and second in every single damn race he runs in. I'm looking forward to doing a match race with him at some point. He'll probably whip my butt, but that's okay. Yeah. It's going to be fun. I'm a dirty racer. I'll tell you that now. I'll turn my mother to win a race. But that's neither here nor there. This kid has got it. And if you're talking junk to, I can't call you Rowdy Burns because I am Chris Burns, and you know how that goes. If you're discounting Corey Huffnagel right now, brother, what you need to do is crawl into bed, grab your teddy bear, hold it tight, and pray. And pray, my friend, that Corey doesn't just come out, walk into your house, kiss your wife, eat your lunch, raid your fridge, take your beer, and walk out as you're standing there going, I don't know what just happened, because Corey is the K1 racer. He is the thrill chaser, and he is the guy that is going to make Slip and Slide Job look like a bucket full of suck. And that's what I got to say. My pimps going forward, follow the Loki and Jabroni Show, live streaming Tuesday nights on YouTube, audio only. Apple Podcast, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, and Spotify on Wednesdays. Also, going forward, in just a couple short weeks, I'm going to be introducing my own music podcast. My picks, stuff that I love, and I think that you guys will love too. Please, when that launches, I will let you know. Please follow it. Have some fun with it. It may not be music you like, but there will be music you like in there because my musical tastes go all over the map. Whether it's NWA, Garth Brooks, Kiss, Motorhead, Tom Jones, doesn't matter. I am all over the map and I'm going to take you on a musical journey. That's why I call it My Journey Through Music. And it's going to be fun. And we're going to set up something where you guys can do requests and dedications for a fee. Look, I don't do anything for free. But so let's just close it out with Corey, another great silly season. Joey Ternulo next week. We're gonna have some great racing talk, and again, another great week. Take that, Jimmy. I can see it right here. It's right in the middle. It's number 3 out of 5. Take Jimmy Johnson down. If I have to buy you a poster, I will put it up there. Take Jimmy Johnson down in producer Eddie Focus's honor.
All right. As soon as tonight, I will definitely take it down.
Yeah, I've heard that for many, many weeks. But for Corey Huffnagel, my name is Chris Burns. This has been the C&J Speed Review. Tune in 2 weeks. Joey Ternulo, New England's finest on the legend car circuit, and for the most famous 2 words in C&J Speedway review history, I turn it over to Corey Huffnagel.
Good night.